have to admit, when Heather Armstrong was first revealed to be the elusive and terrifying impaler, my jaw practically hit the floor. We all knew Joey Armstrong was a dangerous man, a casino boss with his hands deep in the underground world, but his sister, Heather, is on an entirely different level of malevolence. I am absolutely fascinated by the psychological warfare brewing between these two siblings. Joey has always tried to maintain this facade of a civilized criminal, someone who draws a firm line at absolute barbarity. But Heather, she thrives in it. She firmly believes that without absolute, unapologetic cruelty, they cannot maintain their empire. Joey's vehement refusal to partner with his sister in the gruesome plasma ring is a testament to his desperate need to hold on to whatever shred of humanity he has left. He looks at Heather and sees the monster he is terrified of becoming. The tension between them has reached a boiling point, and I find myself completely captivated by Joey's desperate attempts to keep his two worlds from colliding. On one side, he has his dark criminal underbelly, and on the other, he has Vanessa McBride, his beacon of light and normalcy. Joey has made it abundantly clear that he does not want his business associated with Heather's sadistic reputation. He knows that if the truth about the red market and the horrific plasma ring bleeds into his casino operations, his carefully constructed life will collapse. But Heather is not a woman who takes no for an answer. Her brother's rejection only fuels her twisted determination to force her way into his life and his business. So this makes me wonder, just how far is Joey willing to go to protect his sanctity? We got our answer when the situation escalated to a life or death standoff. Seeing Joey Armstrong, a man who usually relies on his henchmen like Randy Parker to do his dirty work, physically draw a gun on his own, flesh and blood, was a cinematic masterpiece. Joey looked Heather dead in the eye and warned her that if forced to choose, he would pull the trigger to protect Vanessa. He is literally willing to execute his own sister to keep Vanessa breathing and blissfully unaware of the monsters lurking in the shadows. This is not just about physical protection. It is about preserving the illusion of the man Vanessa believes him to be. But that is not all. Heather's reaction to having a loaded weapon pointed at her by her brother was chilling. Instead of backing down or showing fear, it only solidified her resolve. She saw the raw, unfiltered passion Joey has for Vanessa, and in Heather's twisted mind, that love is not a strength, it is a glaring, gaping vulnerability. Heather realized that Joey's soft spot for Vanessa is the ultimate lever. If she cannot convince him with money, power, or blood ties, she will chain him to her side through sheer terror and blackmail. Heather's determination to embed herself in Joey's business is no longer just about expanding her international plasma ring. It is about establishing total dominance over her brother. My theory is that Heather is profoundly jealous of Vanessa, not in a romantic sense, but in a possessive, familial way. Heather and Joey share a dark, traumatic past, raised by a sexist, ruthless father. They are bonded by blood and trauma. Seeing Joey attempt to walk away from that darkness to play house with a suburban real estate agent disgusts Heather. She wants to drag Joey back into the mud with her. She wants him to accept that they are two sides of the same corrupted coin. By forcing a partnership, she is essentially forcing Joey to accept his true nature. She wants to destroy the good man persona that Vanessa has projected onto him. And this brings us to the ultimate trump card, the darkest secret Joey has been desperately trying to keep buried, the death of Doug McBride. We all watched in horror as Joey orchestrated Doug's demise, framing it as an accident or a consequence of Doug's own actions involving Kenny's murder. Joey even went as far as burning the damning letter Doug left behind in his camping gear, the letter that explicitly blamed Joey if anything happened. Joey thought the ashes of that letter were the end of his worries, but secrets in Fairmont Crest never stay buried, do they? Heather, being the cunning and resourceful leader of an international crime syndicate, has somehow uncovered the truth about Doug's death. When Heather brings this up, the dynamic shifts entirely. The conflict peaks in an agonizing crescendo of psychological torture. Heather knows that Joey views Vanessa as his salvation, the most important woman in his life. She also knows that Vanessa's love is entirely conditional on her ignorance. If Vanessa were to discover that the man she shares her bed with, the man she passionately defends to her daughter Deanna and her friend Danny Dupree, is the very same man who orchestrated the murder of her husband, her love would instantly curdle into pure, unadulterated hatred. Heather uses this devastating truth to blackmail Joey into the Plasma Ring Alliance. I can practically feel the suffocating despair closing in on Joey as Heather paints a vivid, horrifying picture of the inevitable fall. She describes in agonizing detail how Vanessa will react. She taunts Joey with the image of Vanessa's face twisting in absolute shock, betrayal, and visceral disgust. Heather wants Joey to vividly imagine the moment Vanessa looks at him not as a savior or a lover, but as a monster covered in her late husband's blood. It is a masterclass in emotional manipulation, and Heather plays it flawlessly. Heather's triumphant ultimatum is chillingly simple. Join my alliance, because once Vanessa finds out what you did, you will have absolutely nothing left to lose. Heather is systematically stripping away every pillar of Joey's life until only she remains. Joey realizes in this heartbreaking moment that his sister does not just want his resources, his casino, or his money. She wants to completely annihilate his soul. She wants to break him down until he is as hollow and ruthless as she is. By holding the Doug McBride secret over his head, she is forcing Joey into a corner where he must choose between losing Vanessa to the truth or losing his soul to the red market. So this makes me wonder about Joey's next move. Will he succumb to the blackmail? His fierce protection of Vanessa is now being tested by the very blood running through his. Joey has always prided himself on being smarter and more strategic than his adversary. But how do you outsmart someone who knows your darkest sin and is willing to burn your entire world to the ground? If Joey agrees to the partnership, he becomes complicit in the horrific mutilation and exploitation of innocent people. He becomes the Impaler's right-hand man. But if he refuses, he loses Vanessa forever, and likely faces the wrath of a vengeful Deanna McBride, who is already executing her own psychological warfare against him. Let us talk about Vanessa for a moment. My heart aches for her, even as I scream at my television screen for her to open her eyes. She has been so willfully blind to Joey's darkness. She sat in the back room of the casino, sipping mimosas with Heather, completely unaware that she was sharing a drink with a ruthless crime boss. Vanessa has defended Joey against Deanna's accusations, against Danny's judgments, and against her own nagging intuition. The tragic irony is that Vanessa is the prize in a war she doesn't even know is happening. When the truth inevitably comes out, because in soap operas, the truth always comes out, the devastation will be catastrophic. What are the possible fates for Joey Armstrong in this tangled web of deceit? Possibility number 1, Joey completely surrenders to the dark. He accepts Heather's blackmail, joins the plasma ring, and becomes a full-fledged villain, hiding his monstrous deeds behind his charming casino boss smile until Jacob Hawthorne finally brings the entire operation down. Possibility number 2, Joey pulls the trigger. He realizes that Heather will never stop, that she will always hold Doug's death over him, and he murders his own sister to silence her forever. This would be the ultimate tragedy, crossing a line from which he can never return, all in the name of twisted love. But there is a third possibility, one that I find incredibly compelling. What if Joey decides to take away Heather's leverage by confessing the truth to Vanessa? It would be a monumental gamble. He would have to look the woman he loves in the eye and admit that he is responsible for her husband's death. It would undoubtedly shatter their relationship, but it would strip Heather of her power. Joey would lose Vanessa, but he would save his soul from the Impaler's grasp. However, knowing Joey's desperate need for Vanessa's validation, I highly doubt he has the courage to fall on his own side. And we cannot forget about Deanna McBride in all of this. Deanna is already suspicious. She's already haunted by the ghost of her father, pushing her to seek revenge. If Heather's blackmail plot somehow leaks, or if Deanna intercepts a conversation between the siblings, the consequences will be explosive. Deanna might not wait for the police or Jacob Hawthorne to serve justice. She might take matters into her own hands. Could we see Deanna putting a bullet in Joey? Or perhaps Deanna and Heather will cross paths, leading to an entirely new deadly alliance? The variables are endless, and the tension is absolutely suffocating. Ultimately, this storyline is a brilliant exploration of morality, family, and the corrupting nature of Joey Armstrong is trapped in a prison of his own making. He built his empire on lies and blood, and now that very foundation is crumbling. Heather is not just an antagonist. She is a manifestation of Joey's past and his karma coming to collect. She is the mirror reflecting the ugliness he tries so hard to hide from Vanessa. As we brace ourselves for the upcoming episodes, I am on the edge of... The stakes have never been higher. Joey is holding a gun, Heather is holding a devastating secret, and Vanessa is holding Joey's fragile heart. One of them is going to break, and when they do, the fallout will consume Fairmont Crest. Will blood prove thicker than water, or will Joey's love for Vanessa drive him to commit the ultimate familial betrayal? I cannot wait to see how this dark, twisted family drama unfolds.